Hello friends, welcome to the webinar on continuous improvement on Agile projects. As part of this webinar, we are going to discuss the techniques related to continuously improve product, process, people and tools. My name is Krishnamurthy. So let us first discuss about how to improve product quality. As part of this, we are going to discuss some of the techniques that can actually help us to continuously improve the product quality. The main objective is seek feedback on the product by incremental delivery and frequent demonstrations in order to improve the value of the product. As part of this webinar, especially to improve the product, we are going to discuss techniques like iterative development, frequent verification and validation, revisiting definition of done, testing, implementing XP practices. So, as the first technique that we want to discuss is how can we continuously improve by seeking the feedback on the product by incremental delivery and frequent demonstrations in order to improve the value of the product. On Agile projects, at the end of every sprint, we have sprint demo sessions scheduled where teams are expected to demonstrate the product increments to the product owner. We have to take these sessions very seriously. In most scenarios, I see either teams take these sessions casually or do not do enough preparation. Because of this, the product owner is unable to verify the acceptance criteria fully. We need to avoid this because we need to seek the feedback on the product by incremental delivery and frequent demonstrations that will actually help us improve the value of the product that we develop to the stakeholders. The next technique that we are going to discuss is frequent verifications and validations. In Agile projects, we have number of methods to check whether we are progressing in right direction or not. For example, pair programming is a technique where two people pair. One person spots the error, he is a navigator, the other person is actually coding. So it is like driving your car on US roads. One person is driving, the other person is actually navigating the driver. So in pair programming, we will get the feedback in split of seconds. Similarly, in unit tests are run every few minutes by developers to verify that the code is achieving the desired outcome and to validate whether existing functionality still works. Similarly, the next technique is customer collaboration. Here customers means customers to developers, means the people who are going to consume the services of developers. So that is the next level to developers. So by collaborating with the next level, the developer actually gets a feedback on whether the designs are correct, the objectives are being met or not. So if you see, in seconds, pair programming provides feedback about the product. Unit test provides feedback about the product quality in minutes. Customer collaboration, that is collaborating with your stakeholders around the developer, it actually provides a feedback in hours. And in a day, during his daily stand-up meeting, while we are discussing what did I do yesterday, what I'm going to do today, what is in line today, that means what are the dependencies I have today. So by discussing these three themes, we are actually going to seek the feedback or going to take the help of people. Similarly, in days acceptance test, when you actually demonstrate the user story to the product owner, you basically get the feedback, and then again at the end of sprint, that is in weeks, you get the formal feedback from the product owner and release in months. So if you see, frequently seconds, minutes, hours, days and weeks and months, we are actually getting the feedback on the product quality. We need to leverage these opportunities so that we can check and we can resolve errors or issues at fast pace to improve product quality. The next thing that actually can improve our product quality is definition of done. So definition of done is a definite checklist of necessary value added activities that ensure the quality of the product. A team member can confidently say a story is complete if it meets the story definition of done. The definition of done can be at the story level, at the sprint level, or at the release level. So it's a team who decides the definition of done. So the definition of done is simply the criteria required to complete a story, feature, sprint, or release. There will be different definition of done at every level of Agile project. The definition of done has following characteristics. That means story definition of done can be code is checked in, unit test is passed, acceptance is passed, help file generated, functional test passed. This is a sample checklist. Actually, the team decides what can be the completion criteria for the story to be completed. So whenever somebody says, I am done with a story, that means this definition of done criteria is met. Similarly, we have sprint definition of done. Similarly, we have release definition of done. This definition of done is an indicator of quality. My dear friends, on field, we see that teams set up this definition of done to start with, but they never revisit it. It is going to be a stagnant document, a stagnant visual indicator. They don't bother to revisit it and update it, because of which our product quality may get suffered. So we need to continuously, as part of our retrospectives, we need to continuously revisit the definition of done based on the feedback that we receive sprint after sprint. So this way we can actually continuously take more indicators, more steps to improve the product quality. The next technique is testing. The testing has two aspects: exploratory testing and usability testing. Exploratory tests uses unscripted tests to quickly identify new types of problems with the software. Scripted tests would be used to test functional components of a system. Exploratory tests are used to find extreme behavior or edge cases. Exploratory tests would usually be performed by experienced testers who are used to find unknown issues and unexpected behavior. So it is like an ad hoc testing. Similarly, usability tests. Usability tests are used to test how the end user interacts with the product. It will uncover answers for questions like, are users able to complete simple tasks? Is there repetitive actions to complete a task? Is it not clear how to action something? So it typically, these tests are user oriented. So by using this kind of exploratory testing or usability testing, basically we can actually uncover the holes in the product, and we can actually, by fixing those holes or bugs, we can actually improve the product quality. So the other technique is called implementing the XP practices. So my dear friends, this XP practices, they're test-driven development, refactoring, collective code ownership, continuous integration, pair programming, coding standard, simple design, small releases, sustainable pace, whole team, and customer tests. So this XP practices itself is a big session. So as part of this particular webinar, I'm going to touch upon few XP practices. The first one that I want to discuss is test-driven development. As part of test-driven development, first both developer and tester are going to sit together. They go through the user story and see, look, what are the acceptance criteria that we have to meet. Okay, they take one acceptance criteria. Okay, and they make sure that that acceptance criteria corresponding to that, all the test cases or related test cases are written down. Now they'll have one acceptance test criteria can actually lead to, let's assume, some 15 test cases for them. So they take one test case, they execute the test case. Now the code will not pass because we have not added the necessary code. So the code fails. Then the developer adds the necessary code to make sure that the test passes. Then basically we do refactoring. What is refactoring? We will see little while. We'll just see just a few minutes after we can discuss about it. Now that the code corresponding to test case 1 is incorporated. Now let's take the second test case. Okay, we will execute it. Now what happens? The code fails because we have not added the necessary capability into the code to pass the test. So what they will do, the developer will then add the necessary code to make sure the test case 2 actually gets passed. Now we get a green situation because the test case 2 got passed. Now we do refactoring. What is refactoring? The code required for test case 1 and the code required for test case 2. By combining these things, there can be some redundant code can be there. Redundant variables can be there. Redundant approach can be there. There's some commonality can be there. So by combining these two things, basically we can optimize the code. That's what is refactoring. Okay, without modifying the external interface, we try to modify or optimize the code internally within the function, and then we make the code more effective, more maintainable. That's what is refactoring. Then we take the third test case. When you execute the third test case, obviously the test case fails because we have not added the necessary code. Now to pass the test case 3, we add the necessary code. So it gets on the code passes now because you have just added the code required for test case 3. And then we go and do refactoring. What is refactoring? Without changing the external interfaces of the function, we try to optimize the code within the function so that variables are properly utilized. The common function is properly taken, common theme or logic is properly taken care, so that code is better understood, the function is better maintainable, and basically the function can interact with other functions properly. And then the longevity means in the long run we can actually scale the product properly. So that's what is refactoring. So in this cycle of red, green and refactor, the test driven development happens. What is the advantage? The advantage is only the tested code will go to production. In reality, my dear friends, you see, the developers actually give the code to the testers only towards end of the project. So testers are given very less amount of time. So because at that point in time, they only test the main conditions and they may not test the entire code. So the test coverage or code coverage may not be proper. So because of which what happens is untested code gets into production, and tomorrow it actually increases the maintenance of the product because we have not tested thoroughly and we ship the product to production. So using test driven development, we can prevent that kind of scenario. Only tested code gets into production. The next thing is continuous integration. The continuous integration basically helps minimize the integration problems that result from multiple people making incompatible changes to the same code. Here what happens is, as soon as the source code gets checked in into the source code control system, what happens is it builds. If the compilation passes, then the source code gets built. If the compilation fails, then a notification comes to the developer. Let's assume that the compilation passes and source code gets built. And then what happens? If it's properly get built, then it's passed. If it doesn't get properly built, then it gets failed. So all those things are automatic. So because of this continuous integration, what happens is today the organizations are having the capability of checking in the code and pushing the code to production every 1 hour, every 30 minutes. There are certain companies, they push their functionality every 10 minutes. So because of which they can minimize the integration problems that result from multiple people making incompatible changes. So if you do not apply this continuous integration, we will be having several setups, and maintaining those setups will become costly affair for us. and again regressing that code and pushing it to production, it takes long time. So that's why today DevOps is actually emerging. So using continuous integration, we can basically minimize these kind of problems. So friends, we have so far understood some of the techniques, okay, how to improve product quality. Now let us discuss about how can we improve processes. The main objective is tailor and adopt project process by periodically reviewing and integrating team practices, organization culture, and delivery goals in order to ensure team effectiveness within established organization guidelines and norms. As part of this process improvements, we will be mainly focusing on 4 techniques. They are retrospectives, value stream mapping method, process tailoring, and failure analysis. Okay, so let's first discuss about Agile retrospectives. So we know the Agile principles. One of the Agile principles that talks about is at regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. So as part of this, generally at the end of every iteration or sprint, team they retrospects how things have happened in the last sprint, what went right so that we can continue the same thing, what can be improved, or what needs to be stopped. So they think through those lines and they basically come up with a plan for the next sprint. So let us discuss the insights related to the retrospectives. See, as part of retrospectives, you have 5 stages. Stage 1 is set the stage. Stage 2 is gather the data. Stage 3, generate insights. Stage 4, decide what to do. Stage 5, close the retrospective. Step 1 is setting the stage. Setting the stage is all about setting the tone of the meeting and getting the team on board. Retrospectives work best when there's a lot of engagement on genuine feedback from the team. We form working agreements to get most out of the retrospectives. See, we come across situations wherein team members comes to the retrospectives and they open their laptops and they just keep working. So we don't get best out of the team. We need to have interactive environment in the retrospectives. Also, in some scenarios, we get a scenario wherein only few members will be speaking and they won't give opportunity for others to speak. So there are other persons who are generally not so much proactive, they may prefer to keep quiet. So unless everybody speaks, we can't get best out of retrospective. That's why as part of setting the stage, we actually formulate working agreements so that we can actually create better interaction among team members. Everybody speaks, everybody voices their opinion so that we can get best out of the retrospective. That's what is setting the stage. Predominantly, we will be setting up the working agreements. The second stage is gather the data. The gathering feedback from team members on what happened during iteration. Following facilitation techniques, for example, what went right, what can improve, what can stop. These are the most commonly used facilitation technique to gather the data. Some people use the technique called mad, sad, glad. So that means where team members did not feel properly. Actually, mad, sad, glad technique is another technique to actually capture people's emotion. There is another technique called timeline. For example, for a sprint, let us assume 10 business days are there. We will just basically put up all issues faced day after day, milestones met, impediments faced, so that by having the timeline of the data across the sprint, team members, they can reflect on it and they can actually come back saying that these are the issues we faced. So that technique can actually help us gather the data. And then there is another technique called satisfaction diagram or satisfaction histogram. Team uses this histogram to demonstrate satisfaction for a particular parts of the iteration. So there are various techniques are there. By using those techniques, we basically gather the data. The third thing is generating insights. We have 5 why techniques, fishbone diagram. Using this particular thing, out of the gathered data, we try to generate insights. Okay, and then the insights are available in front of the team after this step. Then as part of the step number 4, which is decide what to do, the teams want to provide SMART goals, that is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant and timely. So once the goals are there, so team members may not feel confident of completing all the goals. So they may prefer to choose top 20% of the goals which actually impact or influence 80% of their next iterations. So they may use Pareto concept to, and they can prioritize the top objectives, and they decide these are the objectives that I need to do. The next one is close the retrospective. Close the retrospective means first we will seek the feedback on how the retrospective have happened. So team member can voice opinion. I am not allowed to speak, or some scrum master used certain kind of facilitation technique that didn't help me. Like this, people can actually voice their opinion about the retrospective, so that next retrospective we can actually improvise. The next part is people can actually use the opportunity to appreciate either within the team members or outside team members, formally or informally. The scrum master can capture the feedback of appreciation, and he can actually pass on to the respective teams that so and so team has appreciated so and so team members. So this way the close retrospective process can happen. So let's take some questions here. Retrospectives, choose the right answer. Retrospectives enable whole team learning. Retrospectives act as catalyst for change. Retrospective generate action. D, all of the above. Can you please provide your options on the chart window? Okay, we are just taking the question answer. Yes, all the above are correct. Retrospectives help teams, even the great ones. It actually helps us keep moving. So far, do you have any questions? You can type in the chat window so that I can answer. Any questions, you can type in the chat window. Okay, I did not get the poll page. Okay, so I'm just putting, this is what it is. Asit, this is what retrospectives choose the right answer is the question. Yeah, so I'm proceeding to the next session. Now let us now discuss about value stream mapping method. Okay, there is question. Continuous integration and continuous testing. Any frameworks exist? Yeah, Ravi, continuous integration and continuous testing, both are different. Continuous integration, its focus is on basically as soon as the developer checks in the code, okay, when the code gets compiled, and after successful compilation the code needs to get built and deployed. That's where the continuous integration is focusing about. Continuous testing, probably you think about test driven automation. There are certain automation frameworks are available wherein all the unit tests, all the functional tests, they are automated, so that as soon as you wanted to integrate, those tests are written, they are running, so that you can immediately get the feedback. So both are different, but however there are certain frameworks on continuous testing. So means the basic concept is same, but tools are different tools are there. Chakri, explain the scenario how we can use retrospection for training the team. Chakri, see, for example, for training the team, how we can use retrospection. See, you can use retrospection at multiple stages. Number one is during the training. See, first of all, during the training at frequent intervals, maybe for after end of every logical section, okay, you can basically seek the feedback, saying that how are we going. Generally in my training sessions I do the same thing, fist of 5. After coming to every 40 minutes or 45 minutes, I'll ask team members, okay, can you show me your fist of 5? If you're clear, then show 5. If you are moderately okay, show 3. And so we used to get the fist of 5 technique to seek the instant feedback from the team members. So during the session itself, we can get the feedback. And the moment people actually say, I am actually 3, okay, then we'll ask them, can you just let us know what makes you to go to 5? Then they actually open up and they say, I am not clear about on these topics, hence I need more explanation. So in that way, we basically provide a 5 minutes time every 1 hour to basically retrospect how things are happening. Generally, the training sessions comes out well if you actually embed this particular retrospective element in every 1 hour. Means after 50 minutes, 5 minutes to gather the data, 5 minutes to generate insights and come up with actions for the next 1 hour. It helps a lot. So that is during the training. At the end of the training, what were the objectives for which we have scheduled the training? I know what are met, what have not met, what we need to do differently so that we can actually meet the objectives. So that way we can actually conduct retrospectives for the training. Okay, next question. Yes, Adarsh, is retro required for each and every sprint? Answer is yes. And I will actually cover this particular thing a little more detail, maybe after 4 or 5 slides. Just hold on, Adarsh. I will get back to you. But for now, yes, it is required. The retrospective is required for each and every sprint. But process tailoring is a concept that I'm going to talk after 4 slides. Then I will actually take your question in detail. Any other questions I can take? Okay. Now friends, value stream mapping method. It's easy to understand, but difficult to implement. But it provides excellent techniques, excellent results. This technique, what we do is we go to the ground, we go to the team on the ground who are hands-on. That means whose hands are on the product. Okay, we'll ask them, what will you do? What kind of steps you perform? Okay, we don't ask the technical leads, we don't ask the managers. The reason is the managers or the technical leads, they provide what steps are expected to be. We don't want the steps. We want the steps which are actually happening on the ground. That's why we wanted to go and talk to the team members. Okay, and we'll ask them, can you please put down activities you perform and you sequence them. So basically, if you see the diagram that I have provided below, they say activity 1, activity 2, activity 3, like this it goes to A, activity B1, B2, B3 comes to B, and like this they actually provide, and ultimately they provide output 1, output 2, output 3 like this, and ultimately they say this is the value we are creating. Now the next part is we'll basically ask them, okay, whatever value you are seeing, is the value you are thinking or the value what customer is perceiving? So can we go and talk to the end customer who is actually going to subscribe to your product? So let's go and talk to them. Okay, we'll go and say, these are the deliverables we are giving. So are you happy with this? So most probably he may say, look, out of 4, 2 deliverables are relevant to me, but 2 I don't like, but you are providing, that's why I'm taking. So whatever is value adding, that is colored in blue, whatever is non-value adding to him is colored in red color here. So we'll just color it out from red color. That means these are the value added activities, these are non-value added activities. So value added activities, I'm just in this diagram we have provided in blue color, non-value added activities we are putting in red color. Okay, now we'll say what is the time team is spending for value added activities. So the process cycle efficiency is value added time by total time, which is actually 40%. So let's assume 40% of the time is only spent on value added activities. Okay, so now here, as part of this particular thing, what are we doing? We are analyzing the as is process. We are identifying, first we are identifying the value from customer perspective, the person who is going to pay for your product. His perspective is important. So from his perspective, both extrinsic and intrinsic elements of the value added activities we are taking, and we are separating value added and non value added activities. Okay, then we come up, okay, what can be the revised process? By simply removing the non value added activities itself, you can actually achieve 50% process improvement. You can actually improve your process cycle efficiency by 50%. Most of the scenarios, my dear friends, we think that this is what helps customer, but you go and talk to the customer may not feel like that. Customer, he has his perspective. So he says, okay, these things are sufficient for me. You are giving these things. I don't ask for it. I don't see much value out of it. These are things are high priority to me. I can substantiate this because if you take Microsoft Excel as the product, okay, we probably use 2% of its features or 5% of its features. Lot of intelligence is there in Excel, but we don't use it. So maintaining Excel it comes high cost to Microsoft. Whereas in WhatsApp, if you take, most of the features we use it. So they actually design the product from customer value perspective. Almost all the features we use it. At least 80% of the features most of us use it. So that's how they have taken the customer perceived, the user operation into consideration while designing the product. So they came up with 2B. So what I'm trying to say is first thing is we identify what are value added activities, what are non-value added activities, and then we try to see how we can eliminate non-value added activities. And even in the value added activities also, we want to come up with some out of box thinking. I mean, we don't just want to continue the value added activities. There may be some other techniques we can use to optimize the value added activities as well. For example, if you take the ATM machine 15-20 years before, if at all we have to take the cash from the bank, we have to wait in the queue, and we have to know whether in our account whether sufficient money is there or not. After we get the sign from the accountant that so and so money is available in our account, then again we have to wait in the queue and we have to deposit the check, and again we have to wait in the queue and then get a DD. So to get a DD, it used to take long time, out of which waiting time is more. So similarly today, to withdraw money also it used to take long time. So banks have challenged the existing process. They came up with some out of box thinking like ATM. Okay, and today people are saying just deposit your check nearby ATM, then your check will get processed. So almost the waiting time they have eliminated. So what point I'm trying to explain here is it is just not sufficient if you remove the non-value added activities. Out of the for the value added activities also, you have to think out of box solutions so that you can optimize the value added activities, so that you can actually come back with the 2B process. Once you have 2B process, you have to get the buy-in from the team on the ground. Then definitely if you have a roadmap to implement this particular action plan, and year on year or month on month or quarter every 3 months, after 3 months you can actually reap the benefits. So this is what is value stream mapping method. Value, the customer perceived value is the key. Using that, we wanted to have a stream of mapping there. Means this is my as is process, this is my 2B process. In the 2B process, I try to either eliminate non-value added activities, or certain times it is not possible to completely eliminate. So we can minimize the non-value added activities. Even for the value added activities also, can I come back with clear out of box thinking? Okay, so so that we can come up with innovative steps, the way the banks have come up with ATM, so that basically we can actually serve the customers with quickly and efficiently. That's how the value stream mapping method talks about. The next technique to improvise the process is process tailoring. So, Chakri, you have a question here. I will just answer it. Just wait. So this is what is process tailoring. Process tailoring is after implementing certain sprints, people start questioning, why should I have retrospective at the end of every sprint? What is the value it is giving? I don't want to have a retrospective at the end of every sprint and waste time. We have seen people like this. Others, this is actually exactly you were asking. See friends, the recommendation is get used to recommended agile practices before attempting to change it. Because if you carefully examine why people are asking for a change, there can be some motivation to drop, amend or append a practice. There can be something else can be there. Means people may not like the agile practices. People wanted to go back to their own original methodologies. So what I'm saying is, if you wanted to tailor a process, okay, you have to make sure you have to practice it for sufficient amount of time. Then only you have the opportunity of changing it. There's a concept called shuhare. Shu means you have to sincerely implement the agile practices for sufficient amount of time. Then only you are enabled with the proper data, with proper teams buy-in, you have the opportunity to modify the process. But Scrum specifically says, the sprint planning, daily stand-up meeting, product backlog refinement session, sprint retrospective, sprint demo, these are quite critical. Scrum says you have to use it. Okay, it provides a bar on the upper time. So you can quickly meet and close it early, that's okay. But you don't need to wait, you don't need to spend some 1.5 hours and all and then waste time. It says these kind of interactions should happen. So that's why what I'm saying is, when it comes to process tailoring, you have to implement agile practices for sufficient amount of time to really understand the values it actually brings back to you. I can tell you, while I was managing a traditional project, getting people together, okay, getting people together and make them speak, it used to be a great challenge for me, especially in product organizations. But once we transform to agile, everybody comes, everybody talks. The morning the stand-up meeting happens, the sprint planning meeting happens, there's a proper discussion between the product and the team. So all those things are happening by design. So earlier it used to take a lot of hard work to actually make people come together and talk. So where all these inefficiencies, earlier days it used to hit the product quality. Now by having this discipline, definitely agile is bringing interactions, and using interactions you can early detecting the gap, and basically you are helping to improve the product quality and happy people. So that's why I'm saying, my dear friends, happy people and making sure the products are built with good quality interactions, small teams are important. Small teams need to interact. So that's why Scrum says, if you wanted to tailor a process, see, Scrum says that, these events, like, as I said, the Scrum framework has to be adopted, but within the framework, you're free to do. For example, you wanted to have Scrum and Kanban because, your business is different. You have to make sure that your team also works on incidents. Then yes, you can marry these two, Scrum and Kanban, and come up with a methodology called Scrumban. Similarly, if you are technology intensive, you can come up with Scrum plus XP, Scrum XP. And if you think that, in Scrum, the people are not properly utilizing the time for the events, the planning events, then you can come back with Lean plus Scrum, Lean Scrum, and say, look, my sprint planning can be optimized like this. Sprint planning is there, but how to perform sprint planning better, Lean Scrum can provide a solution to you. So process tailoring means we recommend you to use agile practices before attempting to change it. You carefully examine the motivation to drop, amend or append a practice. So that's all the process tailoring. So others, to your question, sprint, all those sprint rituals or sprint events, the Scrum events are required, but using the concept of Lean Scrum, you can actually understand where the non-value add time is happening, how we can actually optimize, then we can come up with a approach of how to make these scrum events more effectively. Now there's a question, Chakri. I collect the info from team and present untuned data before customers. Sir, can you give me a realistic example? Reason is it's very difficult for me implementation. I think, Chakri, it's context specific. We can take it later. A question is little context specific, but if you can provide the context better, I can actually explain. Kapil, there's a question. People tend to tailor the process because they find it difficult. Exactly, Kapil. You're right. So people want to tailor the process because they find it difficult to implement. That's why I'm saying you have to examine the motivation, why people are trying to amend a practice. If you understand the proper insights into the motivation, you can actually get answer to yourself saying that whether to tailor the process or not. But yes, after sufficient period of implementation, if team feels that some amount of tailoring has to happen, we can do that. We have to examine the process analysis, means we have to put the process in a pictorial way. What is value added, what is non-value added, how we can eliminate non-value added. This is how we have to work upon. But answer is within the guidelines, within certain framework only we can do that. The other thing that I wanted to explain here is, you know what? These are the XP practices. Okay, these XP practices are interlinked. For example, if you see at green parts, refactoring and testing. The more aggressive testing you do, the more refactoring you can able to do. Similarly, the more interactions you make with the customer, the more lighter the requirements can be. So all these practices which you wanted to tailor, they are interrelated. Okay, so just by eliminating one thing, the other system can get impacted. That's why we have to go for a balanced approach. So it is just not sufficient if you are saying, okay, planning game or refactoring I wanted to eliminate. No, you have to think about that practice in integrated. What and all other techniques or methods are depending on this particular practice which you wanted to tailor. So that's why you have to go in a balanced approach. Okay, the next thing is, the next rule that is in front of is pre-mortem. It's not post-mortem, it's a pre-mortem, rule setting, failure analysis. The pre-mortem is a facilitated team exercise that aims to identify the possible failures on a project before they happen. So we ask the team, okay, imagine a failure situation. What kind of possible failures can happen in a product or a process? Okay, what can be the what can be the reasons for the failure? And then we'll ask the team to consolidate such failure list. Then we basically do a proper brainstorming on it, and then we come back with actions. We'll identify the risks and say, okay, we'll put this particular actions to product owner, we'll explain. So once the product owner also provides his approval, then we will put those stories into our backlog. So typically we are foreseeing future, and we're coming up with possible failure modes, and then we are basically coming up with preventive actions, and so that we can prevent those leakages. Now Chakri has a question. I was referring to in the context of value stream technique. Okay. So friends, so far we have talked about value stream mapping method, retrospective, I think let's go back. Yeah, retrospectives we have seen value stream mapping method we have seen, and process tailoring we have seen, and pre-mortem technique we have seen. So these are the ways where you can actually improvise the process. So let's now get on to the next concept called improve people. How can we improve people? The main objective here is improve team processes by conducting frequent retrospectives and improvement experiments in order to continually enhance the effectiveness of the team, project and organization. So at the end of every sprint, we'll ask team, how many people are happy in the last sprint? How many people are not happy? How many people are neutral? Okay, so by this way, we can basically capture the emotions. Certain people will say, for the 1/3 part of the sprint, I was happy, but later I'm not happy. Why they're not happy? Certain emotions they can express in front of the team, or certain emotions we have to go and talk to them one on one. So we need to capture those things. See, when dealing with people, no, it's not machines. Okay, people won't explain their feelings so freely. So not everybody will be so extroverts. Okay, we need to capture their emotional moments. For example, in stand-up meeting itself, we can actually observe how the bonding is, how the interactions are happening. Okay, we can examine the pulse. That's why the role of a scrum master is very, very important. Okay, so what I am saying here is, frequently we have to take the nod of how people are, how many people are happy, not happy, neutral. That can be in a formal events like retrospectives, or your observing your observation during stand-up meetings. There's another technique that I wanted to explain here is, we can actually come back, to make a self-organized team, to create an environment of continued learning by providing opportunities for people to develop their skills in order to develop a more productive team of generalized specialists. We can come back and saying how self-organized our team is. Constructive disagreement, consensus driven, okay, decision making, whether people are participatory decision making is happening or not, whether people trust each other or not, whether team is committed to the common goal or not, whether belief in vision and success is there or not, and team is empowered to make decisions or not. So if you wanted to put different team, maybe 4 teams, put it on the scale of 1 to 10 and see how their spread is. It actually provides a good analysis to you. Okay, team wise, similarly within the team, member wise also you can actually see this. So these levers, these levers are, you can actually agree upon within the team. Look guys, we want to be self-organized teams. These levers are required. Do you agree or disagree? So with the team's decision, we can agree upon certain levers, like what I have mentioned here: participatory decision making, trusting each other, and empowered to make decisions, self-organizing, constructive disagreement. These are the levers. So these levers, you may add it, delete it, or modify. At the end of the day, they agree on certain levers, and on those levers we can basically measure the team. So measure means, again, the team only provides the feedback. For example, if I am the one team, other 3 teams will give feedback about me. Similarly, on other teams, I will give feedback. This way, we can basically capture this particular feedback, and we can make the feedback transparent to the teams. Thereby, the teams will get an opportunity to self-improve. As a team, they can work better. Similarly, within the team, for the different members also, we can actually pilot this approach. But it requires maturity. It requires a matured scrum masters, matured people, champions, to actually implement this kind of approach. So friends, let's now, before I go to other question, let me take some questions. To get this score, do you have any list of questions? Yes, Kapil. We have implemented in our organization, where a framework got developed to come back with this particular score. Means I will say 5 in this scenario, I will say 4 in this scenario, like this, and so that's a different exercise. For example, I have written an article, how to make self-organized teams. There was a webinar rolled out in YouTube. You can find it out, where I talked more detail about how to make teams self-organized. So we can basically additional material I can provide after this particular webinar. Any other questions? Why are we taking feedback of Scrum Master from the team? No, we are not taking Scrum Master's feedback for the team. No, Kapil, we don't take Scrum. See, on one team, other teams will provide feedback. That's all. We don't take Scrum Master's feedback on a specific team. right? So that's what I'm saying. Okay, next question, improve tools. Okay, so how can, okay, so how do we improve tools? So friends, today in the hurry to get branded as agile, people are keeping their existing tools away, and they're just shifting to most prominent tools like Rally, version 1, Jira kind of a thing. In my opinion, that's not right. When we are actually getting onto agile space, first we need to understand what are my requirements, what kind of alternates I have. Out of the given alternatives, can I pilot a specific tool and confirm the results, and then only implement the tools, and make sure that once the feedback from the tool about my piloting is successful, then only I want to expand my tool to the other part of the organization. So friends, what I'm trying to convey here is just simply purchasing, switching to a branded tool may provide counter productive results to you. Okay, you got to go in a phase wise, because tools are very, very important. Okay, so that's why we need to choose tool prop out of the given alternatives. We have to pilot it, we have to understand the benefits, and then only we have to go in a phase wise manner. And then we need to have a help desk support, especially when the tools, when they want to deploy in an organization, they come with a big bang approach, but once the tool is in implementation, we don't get proper support from the tools team. When I say tools team, it is not within the organization, from the actual tool like version 1, Rally, Jira kind of a thing. So we'll be handicapped. So what I'm saying is we need to have a proper help desk support that also need to be part of our contract. For example, if you want to get certain kind of reports, okay, so we need to have because these tools people know, these people won't give the complete hold of the tool. They just provide certain interfaces to us to extract the data. That's why we need to have a proper help desk also, so that our queries are better answered. So what I'm trying to convey here is a big bang approach of shifting to one tool may not provide you the desired benefits. You got to understand what is needed to us, and what are the alternatives available, and what can I pilot a certain tool, and can I confirm the results are good, and can I expand my implementation. That's how we have to go in a phase-wise approach. So now the last one, my dear friends, is we have to put all these implements, like we have discussed about product continuous improvements. Well, what are the techniques required to improve the product? What are the techniques required to improve the process? What are the techniques required to improve people effectiveness or making them self-organized? And what are the techniques required to improve the tools? All those things are techniques. Okay, these techniques we have to put it in practice. How we can do it? There's a concept called Kaizen. Okay, the Kaizen is a small increment. Means we don't want to wait for a big bang improvement. We are just, even if it's a small improvement that can be implemented in a week span of time, that's sufficient. So we have to create systematic improvements by disseminating knowledge, practice across projects on organizational boundaries in order to avoid reoccurrence of identified problems and improved effectiveness of organization as a whole. So my dear friends, what I'm telling is, in our earlier organization, what we used to do is, in every retrospective meeting, we used to think about, okay, what kind of small improvements I can envisage. That improvement can target product, process, method, tools, people, anything. What is the small improvement, and what is the target benefit? And after we achieve it, what is realized benefit? Who can approve it? What is the effort wise? How much time it takes? What is the planned schedule by when I can expect it? Who is the owner? So it's a simple Excel sheet. Okay, documentation is very thin, but the improvement, the target improvements across these things, typically it can provide you around 10 to 15% of savings you can do on your project cost by going in this way. And you can also achieve customer satisfaction, because you are actually planning or guiding your team towards innovation. So what I'm saying is, Kaizen means a small improvement. Okay, We don't want big improvements. A small improvement that can be done within a week. Okay, there are certain organizations, they run a Kaizen week where they focus only on identifying improvement ideas, and then they come up with an operational plan, and from next week onward they start implementing the plan. So Kaizen is a small incremental improvement. However small it is, the output should be meaningful and relevant to the end user. That's where the value gets generated. So that's how we have to put all these improvement in across product, process, methodology, tools and people into an Excel sheet and come up, and all people need to agree on it, and then we can take improvement by improvement and we can start rolling our team towards better orbits. In that way, we don't circle in the same circle, we don't orbit in the same orbit, we just have a vertical shift, because from one retrospective to another retrospective, we're improving both on the levers called product, process, tools and people. So that's how we can actually achieve it. So friends, the whole picture here is we have to continuously improve the quality, effectiveness and value of product, process, people and tools through retrospectives, through continuous reflection and getting the buy-in from the team. So finally, we don't want Agile to be implemented because you want to be branded as Agile. First, Agile approach works really well for projects in the middle ground here. That means if you draw on y-axis what, that means requirements, on the x-axis how, that is solution technology. That means close to certainty is on the left hand side, means solution and technology is on close to certainty, requirements are also close to agreement, then a simple any method can actually work. Okay, whereas the requirements are far from agreement but solutioning is close to certainty, it's a low complexity. Similarly, if you see solutioning is far from certainty and requirements are far from agreement, then it's a chaos. So Agile actually fits very good in the middle ground, that is in the complex area. Okay, so Agile methods can of course be used for simple projects also, in which organization and team will get the benefits of increased collaboration, communication and visibility. But simple projects can be run just fine with traditional approaches as well. So what point I wanted to say is you got to be clear where Agile need to be implemented. Just in the name of being branded as Agile, you can't just implement Agile on everywhere. See, even on low complexity and simple areas also you can implement Agile, but you can't mix Agile with traditional methods in the 11th hour. Means if you mix Agile methodologies with the traditional methods in the low complex and simple area, you will definitely not reap the desired benefits. So my dear friends, first the very thinking of where to apply Agile is actually the fundamental thing. Okay, so if solutioning and requirement, if they are towards uncertainty, okay, then your Agile methodology will help. So in the name of being branded as Agile, don't just be in a hurry to implement Agile methodologies. You got to know in which quadrant you are, and accordingly you have to implement proper methodologies. So friends, with this I came to conclusion. So can you please provide your questions so that I can answer? I can take another 2 minutes. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can type here. Any questions, please? So I'll be sharing with you the recorded version of it. So yes, there's a question from Kapil. We also need some help on score model and its questions. Okay, sure Kapil, I will just get in touch with you in terms of how to come up with that model. Nageshwar Rao is saying, what if teams are not willing to change or not motivated? I think proper coaching is required, Nageshwar Rao. Proper coaching is required. Both the managers and the let me say the leaders, okay, the leaders and the change agents of the organization, they need to come up with a good framework, because it's like a tip of iceberg. What you see is just tip of the iceberg. Lot of things have to be done under the sea, so that teams actually gets convinced with the benefits. So that we have to take context to context, person to person. Okay. uh, so okay, so Nageshwara, if you have any specific question, what we do is I can call you. We can basically discuss about the context you're talking, so that context specifically we can actually take out some learnings, and we can see whether we can come back with some solutioning. So thank you, friends. I will be sharing with you the recorded version of this. So thank you for your time, and I wish to see you in my future webinars. Thank you.